So this is the parable of the wise and foolish builders. Right? So there's this group of people that are going to build their house upon the rock, and there's this other group of people that are going to build their house upon the sand. So this is Matthew 7. There's two different accounts for this one. Starting from verse 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and does them. Right? So first you got to hear it, and then you got to do it. Right? So you have to have actions. Um, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. Okay, this rock, right, it's a specific rock. It's the rock at Horeb. And we're going to hop to 1 Corinthians 10 very soon. And the rain descended, and the winds, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Okay, now let's hop over to 1 Corinthians 10. Okay, verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I would not that ye should be ignorant, how that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and were all baptized unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat, and did all drink the same spiritual drink. This drink is what came out of that rock. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Yeshua. Right, so out of that rock, and this is the rock at Horeb, you see that there's this water that comes out and it gives the people life, right? So it's this life-giving water. And really, right, what came out of Horeb? It's the Ten Commandments. You learn this in Deuteronomy 5, verse 2. Okay, so that rock that you're being built upon is basically the Ten Commandments. So now, back in Matthew 7, where the people that hear his sayings and does them, right, they're going to be built upon the Ten Commandments. That's their foundation, right? If you look through the law and the prophets, right, one of the things that they hang upon is loving God. Deuteronomy 6 tells you to love God, it means to keep the Ten Commandments. Okay, so you got to be built upon the Ten Commandments so that when the rain descends and the floods come and the winds blow, you won't fall. Right, and this is a key idiom, right? Not falling, that we're going to get into. It's back in Matthew 7. And the rain descended, and the floods came. Or wait, and everyone that hears these sayings of mine, right? So you're going to hear the sayings, you're going to read the book, or maybe a watchman is going to talk to you and rebuke you, and does them not, right? So the watchman, they hear the warning, they hear the sound of the trumpet, and then they give warning to the people. And Ezekiel 33 tells you, right, there are these covetous people that speak in their houses, right? And they hear the watchman's warning, but they will not do them because their heart goes after their covetousness. Okay. And then so these same people, right? So these are these people that are foolish, right? He shall be likened unto a foolish man who which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it. Right? That means that there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna fall, right? That are gonna be these foolish people. Okay, Luke chapter 8, or chapter 6, I mean, verse 47 to 49. It's basically the same thing. So I don't need to reread that, but you can reread it. Luke 6, 47 to 49. Okay, now, right, you see this idiom of like the rain descends, the floods come and beat upon a house, right, and then it falls or it doesn't fall. Right, you see this in Isaiah 28 and Revelation 6. So Isaiah 28 tells you, right, what this flood is, the storm, whatever. Woe to the crown of pride to the drunkards of Ephraim. This people Ephraim, they're this very great nation. They have the most pride, right? Tells you that they're drunk on pride. And this is America. Right, so in the Christian church, right, they're mostly in America, and then they spread their Christmas Easter to the four corners of the earth. Right, that's what Babylon does as well. They spread their pagan abominations to the four corners of the world to make the whole world drunk on that wine of wrath, whose glorious beauty is a fading flower. Right, so they're saying make America great again, but they're gonna fall. Which are on the head of the fat valleys of them that are overcome with wine. Behold, Yehovah hath a mighty and strong one, right? This is talking about Satan, which has a tempest of hail and a destroying storm, and as a flood of mighty waters overflowing shall cast down to the earth with the hand. The crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim, shall be trodden under feet. Right, so Ephraim, right, the Christians in America, they're going to be trodden underfoot, when Satan, he's going to be cast down into America. Right, so that's the flood that's going to be going after the people. Right, they're going to be taken in that flood. Or that's why you get in Matthew 24, right? One should be taken, another left, right? The people that are taken, they're taken in the flood. But you want to be the people that stand, right? Who's going to be able to abide the day of his coming, right? The day of the Lord, right? The you see this idiom like the day of the Lord, the day of calamity, throughout the Bible, or the day of visitation. This is all about the sixth seal. Okay, so Revelation 6, starting from verse 12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal. Right, so there's one, two, three, four, five, and then the sixth seal. The first four seals have already been opened, and I won't get into that, but the four beasts are roaming the earth until they say peace and safety. They're doing nothing to the earth, right, until they say peace and safety, until the fifth seal. But so the sixth seal, right, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth. And you learn Revelation 12, right? This is talking about Satan getting cast to the earth, right? The same thing, right? Satan and his fallen angels. Even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs, when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Right, and you see, in if you go back, I think maybe we should have continued reading in Isaiah 28, but it tells you that it's that the this parable of the fig tree, right? It's before the summer, right? It happens before the summer, right? You should tell you go learn the parable of the fig tree, right? This is part of the parable of the fig tree. Isaiah 20 is part of it, right? And this means that Satan is going to be cast onto the earth, right? This is the untimely figs, right? So this is the springtime harvest, right? So you know it's going to be a springtime event when Satan is cast onto the earth. So even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind, right? You saw that same wind in Matthew 7. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every freeman, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sits on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, right? The day of the Lord. And who shall be able to stand? Right? Who's going to be able to stand, right, when the floods come, the winds descend, and the rains go, right, and be upon that house, right? Who are the people that are going to be able to stand, right? You read Psalm 15, and I know there's like some other places, but the people that are going to be able to stand, they're not only keeping the commandments of God, the Ten Commandments, but then they're also rebuking their neighbor in their sin, telling their neighbor to also keep the Ten Commandments. So if you want to be able to stand, right, if you don't want to fall, then you got to keep the Ten Commandments. You got to go rebuke a neighbor. Now, lastly, in Isaiah 30, you're told more about these people that build their house upon the sand. Okay, you're told, even like Yeshua prophesied that, like, told you about these people, right? To also always tells you about this evil generation, this froward generation. You see this in Deuteronomy 32, the New Song of Moses, and many other places, right? About this certain generation that's going to be at the last days. They're going to be more wicked than any other generation. Okay, and Isaiah 30 also tells you about them. Starting from verse 8. Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever. Right, so at the very end. That this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of Yehovah. Right, you tell them to keep the Ten Commandments, they don't want to hear anything about it. Which say to the seers, the people that can't see the word, right, they keep the people that keep the commandments, and then have the spirits, right, they're able to see these rebellious people. They say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, because we entered into the work of the prophets, right? Not new prophecy, but we're just bringing light to the word. And to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, right? Flattery, right? These nice things. Oh, we don't want to hear that harsh stuff. Prophesy deceits, get you out of the way, turn aside the Holy One, or out of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. They don't want to hear Jehovah. Wherefore, thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise his word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall. Right? They're going to fall because they build their house upon the sand, swelling out in a high wall, whose breaking cometh suddenly at an instant. Right? That's what's going to happen to the entire Christian church, to Babylon. They're going to fall in 1 day and 1 hour. Right? When Babylon falls. Right? And then the whole world is going to see their fall.